welcome to the season finale of What's Next. It's Indy NXT Oval Series action from Homestead, Miami. We're here for week number 12 of 12 in the inaugural season of Indy NXT Road Series action. I'm Jacob Collins here once again on the call, and we're just about ready to get headed into qualifying here for the final time here in Indy NXT Oval Series competition for the inaugural season. We'll be heading off into 2026 with a big shakeup in terms of the track variety, a lot of new locations and track types that we haven't seen a ton of in Indy NXT competition thus far. We'll head out with Brant McClendon as he heads out onto the course for qualifying here. Get the timing tower up on the screen. Hop on board with the driver of the number 6 machine as he gets ready to lay down his qualifying run here. I want to welcome everybody on in for tuning in to the mid-race break between the INDYCAR Oval Fixed Series action from the iRacing Super Speedway. Seb Alexander breaking through and winning that race. We do have a championship already decided, more or less, here at Indy NXT Oval Series competition. I'll bring up the point standings as of last night on the screen. Indy Kirkenbauer will be your inaugural series champion on 1,591 points as it stands. Wylazinski, I believe, has closed this gap ever so slightly, down about 8 more points than he has here. You'd see Wetz, Bolgren, Fletcher, Neon, Pritchett, Villamere, Thurman, Goodman, Corwin, Brown, Alba, Glenn, Clenworth, McGrory, Aquila, James Watson of Indy Pro fame, Schwitter, Kolsar, Yankee, Pileska, Ty McWhirter from the ARCA crowd, Frank Wynn, Frisky Frankie's 24th, and of course IndyCar flagman Aaron Likens sits in 25th. Good to see Aaron running a number of weeks throughout the season. Of course, IndyCar's in their off-season as it stands. McClendon's going to set his second lap here. Put him good enough for third at the moment. We'll hop outboard. We are expecting the white line fever in full effect here at Homestead, Miami. We'll hang out with Indy Kirkenbauer as he sits on the pit lane. People wrapping up their qualifying runs here. We've got 2 Kirkenbauers in the field tonight. Indy and his father, Clay, in the 5 and the 13, respectively. We'll be looking for them to be making quite the impression here over the course of the event. See if we can find ourselves a car at speed. Dylan Wylazinski's out on the course. Number 1 machine tonight. I believe he was in chat earlier saying that second was still up for grabs. That certainly would appear to be the case. I don't believe Chris Wetz is in the field tonight. That would be the closest competitor. We take another look at the point standings there. Wetz about 34 points back as of that picture there. Don't believe he's in the field tonight, so it does look like, at least as of the time of this race occurring, top 2 will be decided, all but assuredly. But we still got ourselves what hopefully will be another race here worth of action. See if Homestead offers up something a bit different with the progressive banking on either end of the track. Of course, Homestead's a somewhat unique oval, given that it is symmetrical on both ends. It's not a D-shape or quad oval, and has progressive banking in the corners where the top of the track is slightly more banked than the bottom, I believe. That potentially could be the inverse. Not quite sure on that. Wylazinski will set the pole speed as it stands. We've still got a number of cars needing to take time here before qualifying ends. We're rolling into the final minute of the session. Wylazinski's going to head down the pit lane here. We'll get on to a camera where we can actually see Wylazinski roll down the pit lane here. He's provisionally on the pole. We're seeing Alex Krapser make another appearance in Indy NXT competition in the number 2 machine. He has yet to take a time. Indy Kirkwood set himself 5th on the grid as it stands. See if he can make any surprise moves, as we saw in the late stages last week at Kansas following a large crash down the back straightaway on the final lap. Kirkwood emerged from the apron in turn number 3 with the lead of the race and took another victory here in Indy NXT competition. So we will be rounding out qualifying here, and we will get to a starting lineup very shortly. As cars get onto the grid. So it will be Dylan Wylazinski from the pole once more. Pole sitter last week and many times throughout this season. He'll be on the front row with a 28.747. Alongside him will be Andrew K. Hamilton in the number 7. Chris Fletcher will line up third next to Brant McClendon, who we watched his qualifying run. Good enough for 4th. Indy Kirkwood, the prodigy, will roll off 5th to round out his championship run here in Indy NXT Oval Series competition alongside Jeremy Siska in the 18 machine in 6th. Taylor Thurman will roll off 7th. Got Taylor Thurman fans in the chat each and every week here that we've had on the channel. Good to see them back in force here tonight. Crash Neon will roll off 8th, the winner of the race at Iowa to start off this season. Yari Buberku will roll off 9th. Not sure if he gridded. Jason Goodman will round out our top 10. We're going to have to get clicking through here. Clay Kirkebauer will line up 13th. Father of the prodigy. See if he can learn a thing or two from the thing he's made. Ryan Brown will roll off 12th in the number 10. John Corwin will roll off 13th in the 12. Tyler DeVillamere back once again will roll off 14th. Matt Carey 15th. Connor Hawkins will roll off 16th. Matt Glenn back once more in his Ghost Energy machine. He'll roll off 17th. Shane Holstein will roll off 18th. Jeremy Cruz will be the last car taking time in row number 10 on the inside. Alex Krapser will round out the top 20. And then James Cree and Logan Smith are out on the course, ready to take on the field tonight. We will get the timing tower up on the screen. 45 laps of action from Homestead. We're ready to go. Pace car is down.
Green, green, green.
We're off. Heading down the front straightaway. Get the cameras in order. Wylazinski will take the early lead. We'll see how long it takes for him to scramble down to that bottom lane we've seen play out time and time again here in the Indy NXT Oval Series. Hamilton's going to look. Oh, yellow's out. We'll have to see where that started. Looks like Glenn makes it through. Krapser's involved. He's around, so we'll see what happened to him. He's missing a rear wing and likely has rear end damage. So we're coming off of turn number 2. Krapser's up high. There's going to be a checkup, likely smoke ahead. Gets run into the back of by the 21 machine of Holstein. There's the number 9 machine of Jason Goodman around. We'll have to see what happened to Goodman. So we'll run it back once more. Looks like Goodman got loose off of turn number 2 here. We'll check exactly what happened here, if any contact was made or if that's just loose race car striking once more. We haven't seen it in a couple weeks here in Indy NXT competition, but these cars are very, very treacherous on the cold tires, and it does indeed look like we've hit ourselves the slide of doom. And he spins it right up into the outside wall. And then Alex Krapser is going to come into the picture backwards already due to contact that we just saw moments ago. Catch back up to the live feed. Back to Wylazinski at the front of the field. I have been informed we've got the crowd from the Oval Series broadcast, the IndyCar Oval Series broadcast in here. Welcome on in. We're having non-stop oval action here on the P1 channel. This race miles slower than the 240 some odd mile an hour absolute 4-wide miracle of nature that is the iRacing Super Speedway. Miracle of virtual nature. Appreciate Mark giving me the heads up that we've got eyeballs all across the channel here, tuning into this race. Not sure if we've got the pace car out. Lights are still on that iRacing pace car, the unbranded iRacing pace car. Or, well, branded by iRacing, not branded by a car manufacturer. We do not get the Porsche, or I believe they have a BMW pace car now. We didn't make it too far here in the opening stages. So we will catch Dylan Wielowski in that get good racing machine at the front of the field. Common sight here in your next competition. Kirkwood's made up a spot. He's up to 4th. See if we can get a solid shot further away from the cars here. Lights are out on the pace car. We will go green this time, heading on to lap number 5 of our 45-lap event here tonight. We will try to get a champion interview in before the conclusion of our coverage, regardless of where Indy finishes tonight. Wielowski fans chiming in chat. Good to see. We've got drivers from all over the sim congregating on Indy NXT and have fan bases to back them up. We'd love to see it. Wielowski will get control of the field here shortly. Heading off turn number 4 this time. Get aimed down the front straightaway here. Wielowski's going to launch now. Green flag in the air. He's going to get a good launch this time. Single file restart. We'll check on the action further down the field. See if maybe we can get high in the sky aboard the blimp. A bit further up, rather. There we go. We can see a bit more from the blimp here. So Wielowski leads. Kirkwood's making a pass on Chris Fletcher for 3rd. That'll put him on the podium. Clendon's going to set the fastest lap of the race with a 29.908. Of course, we didn't really get too much green flag running that first time around. Working down the back straightaway. Wielowski's going to get to that bottom lane. Hamilton in tow. Kirkwood's going to start to enter this picture. We'll see if he manages to make anything happen once he gets there. Seems to be the bulk of the movement so far until you get outside the top 10 where we're seeing a couple cars make some moves. McClendon, once again, fastest car on track. See what he can do. Might have gotten some big draft runs here. Kirkwood going to tuck in right behind Wielowski and make the move on Hamilton. Of course, I believe we saw these cars duke it out last week at Kansas. We'll do battle once more here in Homestead, Miami. Both series for Indy NXT in the state of Florida. Of course, we saw Jarrett Corey win another race at Sebring last night on his bid to what we believe will be the championship there. Hamilton to the outside of Kirkwood once more. Side draft in full effect. We're staying at the front of the field as it stands. We'll catch you up on the top 10 once we get to around lap 10 or 12. Field working their way right up against that white line all the way around this track. What I am liking and seeing is that everybody's staying above that white line. We've seen a number of instances where the fast lane or the lane everybody's taken is right below the apron, right up against the grass. No grass down the front of the backstretch here. It's all paved until you get to the corners there. As you see, there is some infield road courses here at Homestead. See some of the corners through the grass there. We've got ourselves the conga line in full effect. About 7 cars deep. Back to Taylor Thurman running in the 7th spot in the number 14. Mr. Corey chimed him in chat. Jarrett himself. That is true. We've got the Junior Open Wheel Oval Challenge in the Indy Pro and the USF 2000s taking on USA International. So we put the entire road to Indy in the state of Florida this week. Barring the IndyCar itself, which depending on your definition, may or may not count. Tyler D. Villamere sets the fastest lap, 28.510. We'll watch as the field stays congregated. We're going to get more cars entering this lead pack. That'll likely be back to Villamere in the 11th spot. Gap back to Cruz about 2.5 seconds. Field staying otherwise nicely put together. We'll hop on board with Chris. Actually, we'll hop on board with Chris Fletcher. Or Taylor Thurman, rather. Since he seems to have the most things going on around him, we'll hop on board with the driver of the number 14 machine. The biggest thing when it comes to these very, very tight draft races that is so difficult in these open wheel cars is you can't bump people. There have been instances on lower rungs on the road to Indy where you can do a bit of bumper locking if you get the cars lined up just perfectly. We've seen it in USF 2000 at Road America recently. We've seen it in the Indy Pro 2000 a couple weeks ago at Pocono. Not on the channel, but just on the iRacing service on the whole. But there is the ability on a couple of these open wheel cars to line them up just perfectly. But definitely not something we've seen happen much, if at all, in the next machine. That rear attenuator in the floor just doesn't seem to want to line up with that front wing assembly. Ride a couple more here with Thurman. He sits in 6th on the low side. Believe we've got Ryan Brown either right behind him or just to his outside. You can hear it if you listen closely. There is another engine kind of around our heads here as we ride on board with Taylor. We're about 1/3 of the way through this race. We're working lap 15 as it stands. These laps are clicking off nice and solid here tonight. Just under 29 seconds a lap. About 28.5 if we're getting super particular. You'll hear Ryan Brown working that high side. Not going to be able to gather quite enough momentum here. Hop back outboard with some TV cameras. There is Mr. Brown on the high side. They'll head down into turns 3 and 4. Fellow booth talent Mark Murphy chiming in the chat. Glad to have everybody tuning in for what may turn into quite an interesting race as we see cars 2x2 through the rest of this pack we've got up at the front of the field here. That's at least somewhat promising. We do have an off week next week for official series competition. iRacing does their quarterly builds. That'll be week 13 next week. Although we've got the big race, the Hoosier 500 will be going on next weekend. Qualifying will be this weekend, I do believe. We'll receive an update to the IndyCar that'll put the hybrid in play for that event, which will be the first test of that system in a very much intense competition. As I believe there's over 100 some odd entries vying for 33 spots in that event. Bit of action here. Ryan Brown has made it up to 5th from the outside lane. He's sitting behind Brent McClendon. See if we can get a better angle of this. Brown's worked the high lane, done a bit of side drafting. He might get side drafted back by Fletcher this time. Kirkenbauer's worked his way up to... Actually, Kirkenbauer's been up to 2nd. What am I talking about? So we've got Mr. Brown working there. Get back up higher in the sky so we can see a bit more what's going on here. Very awkward angle of the track to get around here, just given the oblong shape of it. So we've got 11 cars in this lead pack. Back to Villamere in 11th. That's going to be that blue and white car at the right side of your screen. Drivers have stayed relatively calm. Almost a bit of contact there between Brown and Thurman. Brown was able to make up some ground on the high side, but may do so again here as they kind of accordion together entering turns 1 and 2 between I believe that's McClendon, Fletcher, and Thurman on the low side. You can hear the second pack. That'll be cars 12th through 19th. Off in the distance. Brown getting awfully close to Fletcher on the inside. He's going to stay high here. He's going to get a good run of momentum through the corner. I'm not sure how much he'll have on exit because there is no draft help for him ahead. So not a ton of motion otherwise. Wylazinski still leads over Kirkenbauer. That gap's about a 10th. Hamilton runs in 3rd. McClendon's 4th. Fletcher in 5th. Brown runs 6th. Thurman 7th. Crash Neon's in 8th. Jeremy Siska runs 9th. Clay Kirkenbauer runs in 10th. And Tyler De Villamera is in 11th. We roll back to the second pack, which we'll do so just to give everybody a bit of screen time here. Matt Glenn leads the second train here ahead of Jeremy Cruz. That yellow's out. Just as we move, there's cars in the wall. It's going to be Brent McClendon. Oh, big crash! That second train was not ready when they got here. I'm suspecting this started with McClendon and Brown, as Brown has also received the meatball flag, as did Matt Glenn, John Corwin, Shane Holstein, James Cree. We'll hop to closer TV camera and get a look at what happened here. Oh. Okay, so we've already got cars wrecking there. We're going to have to zoom this camera out a bit. It's bound the back straightaway. Get this caught up. Try to speed this up a bit. So we're heading down the back. McClendon's up. He's up high now. Likely got a big run. Oh, is that netcode contact potentially between himself and Hamilton? I think we might have to watch that again from Hamilton's point of view. See what happened there. But that's going to put McClendon up in the wall. And then we're going to see the rest of the pack just come in. That second train just come in and absolutely clobber the likes of Ryan Brown. You've got Matt Glenn involved. John Corwin's involved. Shane Holstein. I believe that's going to be James Cree here involved. Big pile up heading into turns 3 and 4. So we just made it past the halfway mark. Let's see what happened from the cockpit of Hamilton. So we're on board with him. He gets the run down on the low side. He's hugging nice and low on the white line here. I don't know if that's entirely down to netcode, but certainly a run and contact made one way or another between Hamilton and McClendon. And that second train, Jarrett's busting out the ARCA brakes. I would have to agree. That's quite the ARCA brake moment from that second train. But important to keep in mind with these open wheel cars, it's very difficult to slow them down once you're at speed in them. Especially on these bigger tracks. We see it quite frequently at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, even in the sim, of cars just locking the brakes up and getting themselves in trouble in a hurry. But we've made it past that halfway mark. We'll get laps to go up on the screen. Can't seem to have one of these big track Indy NXT races without some sort of chaos and carnage. Hopefully we've gotten that out of the way early here for the sake of the drivers. I am once again knocking on wood. I have a nice nightstand next to my sim rig that I can knock on for when we need to do that. So it'll be Wylazinski leading Kirkenbauer. Chris Fletcher's still up here. Taylor Thurman's made it up to 4th through the chaos there. Crash Neon will be rounding out the top 5. You've got Jeremy Siska in 6th. He's got the Haas F1 team livery on that machine. Clay Kirkenbauer runs in 7th. Tyler De Villamere will be 8th. Jeremy Cruz in 9th. And Logan Smith rounds out the top 10. Believe we're going to be lights out on the pace car, so we've got to get back to green flag action here shortly. We'll get the blimp zoomed back out. Pace car is going to peel off. Wylazinski back in control of the field. Let's see if Indy Kirkenbauer can do anything on this restart.
Green, green, green. green.
Green flag in the air. Wilozinski gets a solid launch. Kirkwood will have to fend off Chris Fletcher. 19 to go here. Thurman's going to lose a spot to Neon, I believe. So it's currently a 3-car breakaway. We'll see this bind up as the field regains the draft at speed. More than likely. We'll see just how quickly that happens. So Fletcher's going to be working the back of this train. Rolling the bottom, as is tradition. See that second train start to form up. That'll be led by Crash Neon, Thurman, and then Siska. And then Clay Kirkenbauer will be about half a second off of them, but he'll quickly start to gain. That'll be about 7 cars that'll come together relatively quickly, and then it's about another second back to Tyler De Villamere in the 8th spot. We're high in the sky to try to give you as many cars on screen as possible here from Homestead, Miami, the 1.5-mile oval from the state of Florida. The teal walls, very much a standout feature of this facility. So we have received the 7-car conga line. Will we make it 8? Villamere's about a second back. 17 to go. Rolling nice and solid here on the white line. 15 to go. The final third of the race is upon us. Closing out the season in style from Miami. The greater Miami area. Where is this track located? Is it in Homestead? Yes, it is. It's in Homestead. So we'll give it its due and give Homestead their shout out. It's in Homestead, Florida. So we've got 7 cars in the conga line. Back to Kirkenbauer in the 7th spot. That'll be just off screen. You'll see the black car enter the viewport every once in a while here. We're staying nice and comfy on the bottom lane. Nothing too crazy going on in terms of what we come to expect here on these big tracks in Indy NXT competition. And let's not discount how difficult this is to do, even if there's not a ton of passing or typical racing antics going on. This is very difficult to do. You have to hit the line, stay nice and close, scrub as little speed as possible. Indy, of course, hailing from the world of dirt. It's a 305 sprint car ace in the sim and drives dirt oval karts in the real world. Very much something that you have to get very good at, is moving that steering wheel just enough to keep the car pointed the right direction, but no more, especially on the loose surface. So we see Wilozinski have a bit of a slip there. That'll give Kirkenbauer a run, but he'll let off and fade back ever so slightly. I imagine we're not going to see anybody making any crazy moves further into this run following the rather large crash that took out the bulk of the field here tonight. We're down to 12 cars on the lead lap of our 21 starters. Top 3 remains unchanged. Crash Neon runs in 4th. Taylor Thurman runs 5th. Siska and Kirkenbauer are there. Villamere has caught back into the picture. He's just off this train. 1 second back of the leader. He'll enter the picture there. That'll put Smith. That'll be Logan Smith in the 9th spot, about a second and a 3/4, second and a half from Villamere. 12 cars on the lead lap, 13 cars running back to Andrew Hamilton, who likely had to come down the pit lane and fix some sort of damage due to his involvement in that earlier incident. Everyone Corwin on back. Corwin has punched his ticket out. We've got Glenn, McClendon, and Brown on the pit lane serving meatball flags, trying to get back out there, gain a spot or two over each other, depending on the extent of their damages. So it will be 8 cars in the lead train now, as we work to 8 to go this time by. We will get a bit closer in on the action here, as we've stayed on the blimp for a good long while here, trying to catch as much of this train as we can, but not too much has happened in a good while, so we'll get a bit closer to him here, heading off into turn number 3. Of course, this will be the second to last 1.5 mile track we see in Indy NXT competition. Of course, our season opener for 2026 season 1 will be at Mobility Resort Motegi, the oval at that facility in Japan. Will be our first international oval appearing in the series. We'll stay nice and tight here with Wylozinski and company. See if this camera pans back around. It does not. I think there was a reason we stuck with the blimp shots. Get the bit further out there. There we go. Stay a bit closer, but not quite as close or quite as far away as we were previously. But we've got 6 laps left here for the Indy NXT Oval Series from Homestead, Miami. Gonna quickly run through the rest of this week's coverage. We've got a lot of Hoosier 500 practice going on throughout the week on the channel. So following this race will be the second race of the IndyCar Oval Series doubleheader from the iRacing Super Speedway. Tomorrow night, the Formula Indy Series will be taking on Mexico City at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Hoosier 500 practice will be at 8 o'clock that evening. Thursday night, Mark Murphy will have the second split of the IndyCar Pro Series qualifier final race from the Iowa Speedway. That'll be 8 p.m. Eastern Time, alongside additional Hoosier 500 practice starting at the same time. Friday, Mark will have the Race for Recovery 200. I believe it's NASCAR trucks from Daytona. Charity event will start at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Do tune into that. Saturday, Hoosier 500 Pole Day will be hosted by Gary Gotso and Andrew Wood. That'll be 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we'll be back to Week 13 coverage with basically every day of the week having some sort of Hoosier 500 coverage. Bump Day taking place Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We've got 3 laps to go in this race, and we will focus on that, as we'll see likely any passes being made coming to the final lap of the race. If anybody's going to have the gusto to do it, that will be the time. No changes for position here at the front of the field. You've got Kirkenbauer of the clay variety looking to the outside of Mr. Siska for 6th. Not really anything else he can do here. 2 laps to go. We'll be heading to the white flag this time. 1 lap to go in the season. Can Wylozinski pick up another win here in Indy NXT Oval Series competition? Kirkenbauer is going to look high. Now is the time. Fletcher's going to look low. Kirkenbauer will stay up high. He's trapped up there. And the finish remains the same regardless of how you slice it. Wylozinski will take the win over Kirkenbauer. Chris Fletcher 3rd. Neon, Thurman, Siska, Clay Kirkenbauer, Villamere, Smith, Hawkins, Carey, Cruz. Rounding out the lead lap finishers. And Andrew Hamilton will be 13th, 1 lap down. Last of the cars on the course. We can run through the rest of the finishing results as these drivers cool down their machines. So it will be Dylan Wylozinski with the win. Andy Kirkenbauer, Chris Fletcher, Crash Neon, Taylor Thurman, Jeremy Siska, Clay Kirkebauer, Tyler Villamere, Logan Smith, Connor Hawkins will round out the top 10. Wilczynski doing donuts off in the background. Matt Carey will finish 11th. Jeremy Cruz in 12th. Andrew Hamilton 13th will be the last car moving on the course, one lap down. John Corwin, Matt Gland, Brent McClendon, Ryan Brown, Shane Holstein, James Creed, Jason Goodman, all out in that second incident here tonight. Alex Krapser out in the first. I believe Goodman was also involved in the opening incident, not the later one. And Jari Brubaker 3 laps down from, I don't think he took the green. So that's Yari's night done there. We will get podium interviews. We're going to try to do these in a logical order with Kirkebauer likely taking up a bit more time due to that championship performance for him. We will get Chris Fletcher's machine on screen if we can track him down. Can we find him? All right, we're going to have to bust out the immersion breaker. I got to find some cars here. Give me like the last couple laps or something. Oh, this is the scenic blimp. That would explain why I'm not seeing anything. Goodness me. Blimp interview. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. Apologies, everyone. Get the podium graphics up on the screen. See if we get Chris on up here. He's in the voice channels. Oh boy, we got a party. Chris Fletcher. Chris, Jacob Collins, P1 Broadcasting. You got me?
Yeah, I got you, Jacob. How you doing tonight?
Good. Well, I think this might be an additional appearance for you here up on the podium this season. I want to say it might have been Nashville earlier this season or one of those earlier races this season that you've made it up on here. Talk us through your race here tonight. Looked like it was pretty textbook in terms of the 1.5 mile tracks we've seen this season.
Yeah, I think for the most part it was pretty straightforward for these 1.5s. My race, I started off just trying to save the tires and not push them too hard. Try to save something for the end there to battle with Indy and Dylan. I knew I was going to have to get around those guys if I wanted to win. But at the end of the day, just couldn't make it happen there. It was close for the three of us there. I think closest finish for the top 3 this season.
Yeah, I think it's the first time we've had the top 3 kind of all wrapped under a blanket next to each other as opposed to in a single file train. So that was nice to see. It did look like that this was a different race from the kind of the way people were positioning their cars. There isn't an apron to use, at least in the traditional sense, on either side of this track. Obviously, you've got a paved area down there, but very much still that kind of hold the white line and keep a steady wheel as you navigate through the corners. We saw a couple wrecks here just due to cars getting up out of shape or too close together, making passes on that outside lane. Kind of talk us through if tire management felt like a big factor here. This is kind of maybe a slightly different track compared to some of the other 1.5s we've seen this season, and obviously the banking being what it is here kind of throws a bit of a monkey wrench depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, it was a little bit different than the other 1.5s. Like I said, I was trying to save some tire to see if it would make a difference at the end. I'm not sure that it did really against those two there, but you had to lift a little bit to keep it down on the bottom towards the end of the race. So definitely different than the rest of them this year. I'd like to see this, maybe another 20 laps longer and might be able to see some tires come into play.
Yeah, I think if we were to somehow get good tire wear, these 1.5s might be a bit better. I think it really just comes down to how hot we can get the track. That tends to run true even in the bigger IndyCar here on iRacing. But another quality finish for you here tonight, Chris. Anybody want to shout out, feel free to do so.
Yeah, of course. Thanks to you guys, of course, put these broadcasts up. And congrats to Indy for the season championship. My teammates, Dustin Bulgren and John Corwin. Dustin wasn't able to make it tonight down in here. And then, of course, my fiancée, Kelly. And I think I've got one of my kids, Tesla, watching tonight. So shout out to them.
Well, shout out to you, Chris, for making appearances throughout the season here on the P1 channel for Indy NXT Oval Series competition. We hope to catch you next season, hopefully every week.
Yeah, I think we're actually going to go over on the roadside next season and see what we can do over there. So we'll see you guys next season.
Sounds good. Tackling on the right turns for Chris Fletcher. Glad to have you on up here.
Thanks, sir.
And that will be Mr. Fletcher. And we will get Dylan Wylazinski, the winner, here up tonight, as he's got not a whole lot else going on. Or, well, he's here with us. Get him on up here. Dylan, Jacob Collins, P1 Broadcasting. How's it going?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Well, I don't think we got to go into too much detail as to how this race was won. Obviously, putting your car on the pole and right up against the white line here in Florida seems like a fitting way to kind of end this inaugural season, given the tracks we've seen throughout the season. If you got any comments on kind of what maybe went a bit differently this week, feel free to hand them out.
Not much different than like what Kansas was last week, where you're just holding the bottom and then hoping, if you're behind the front leader, hoping that he makes a mistake or something. There was a couple of splits this week where the track temp was a little bit higher and you could make the outside work, but for this one, it didn't seem like you could make it work.
Yeah, we were kind of talking with Chris Fletcher that it seemed like if maybe the race was a bit longer, you could have gotten a bit more tire wear because people were starting to have to lift in the draft around here. But
oh yeah, absolutely.
Certainly seems like it'll be one of those cases where we're kind of in a very narrow window of getting the weather right. I know the IndyCar kind of has similar struggles, and you got to have the weather in just the right window in order to get the racing to the snuff that it needs to be. But another win for you here. Believe this will solidly put you as the runner-up in the championship this season. If you've got any kind of comments you want to make on the season on the whole, feel free to do so. You've certainly made your statement here, even with a runner-up finish in the championship.
So congrats to Indy on the win. I was trying my hardest to try and catch back up to him and then stay ahead of him once I got the point lead. And if it wasn't for internet issues last week, I feel like I might have had a chance to beat him, because he was kind of running towards the middle of the pack last week. But just the way things kind of go, you get run over when you're blinking, and nothing you can really do about it, unfortunately. But I'll try again next year and see if I can get closer to him. But congrats to him on the championship.
Nothing you can do but get back up there and try again. Quality win for you here, Chris. If there's anybody you want to shout out here tonight, feel free to do so.
Absolutely. Shout out to Get Good Racing. Shout out to the Sprint Car Cup Series. They run 6:30 and 8:30, or 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock on Tuesdays, and 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock on Thursdays. Probably the best open wheel racing on the series. If you can get a chance to run it, absolutely run it. Shout out to McKinsey for this awesome livery. And yeah.
Glad to hear we're getting some shout outs for some TNT Community Series. I know Jeffrey Stanton's a big guy with the sprint cars, and he was cheering himself a good one with the multiple splits at I believe they're at USA International this week. So glad to see.
Yeah, they said they had a split, so that was cool. Good to see. Hopefully, I can get a chance to run with them on Thursday.
Yeah, and I'd certainly look forward to giving that car a shot. I have yet to do so myself, but I'm looking forward to
absolutely do it. It's so much fun, dude. You gotta try it.
All right. Well, thank you, Dylan, for making some solid appearances here throughout the season. We hope to catch you next season here on the channel.
Absolutely appreciate it.
That will be Dylan Wylazinski, the winner here tonight. And, of course, we will save the champion for last. That'll be the one, the only, the king of the conga, Andy Kirkwood. Andy Kirkwood, Jacob Collins, P1 Broadcasting. You got me?
Yep, I got you.
Well, you have done all that you needed to do to secure the championship handedly here tonight. I believe the points gap was just too much to overcome going into this final week, but certainly a statement piece for you here in the inaugural season of Indy NXT Oval Series competition. Kind of talk us through, I guess, your season on the whole and what you're looking forward to come the turn of the calendar, if you will.
Yeah, it was a pretty good season. I qualified good. That's pretty much what it comes down to. I didn't qualify good in the last few races, but I qualified good, and this is my first ever even division season overall win. So yeah, this is very good. And, I'm excited for next year because of the shorter ovals.
Yeah, we're certainly looking forward to a bit more track variety. Of course, we'll be taking on more of the 1 mile and sub 1 mile tracks. So, of course, we'll see our first half-mile appearance in Myrtle Beach. I know you're looking forward to that one. Couple night races, Myrtle and USA. That'll be something. I know we saw one at Charlotte earlier this season, but a lot to look forward to in terms of the calendar. Any other thoughts or feelings, opinions on the series this season? Obviously, we saw a couple solid weeks with the likes of Gateway, Richmond, Iowa to some extent. Do you feel like there was a standout race for you here this season?
North Wilkesboro for sure. His biggest SOF win. Guy in second was a Coke Series driver. I mean, that was the best race this season. I'm glad they're bringing it back. I wish it would have been on the old scan, though, because if I could choose every single schedule in iRacing, it would be whatever surface is the least grippy and make it like 90 degrees every time. So I like it no grip. I come from dirt, but yeah, I mean it's gonna be good next year for sure. I know Myrtle Beach is gonna be awesome. Yeah, but North Wilkesboro, Texas, Kansas, and what was the other one? Yeah, I think those were my wins. I think I won 3 this year. But yeah, those are great. I know I got second a few times, including tonight. But yeah, it's just I missed the first 2 weeks of this SOF, and I've made the last 10, and that's what's paid off, just being good in those last 10 races. And once I got the lead, I know I dropped off of it after I got wrecked at Gateway in Atlanta, but once those drop weeks started coming in and dropped those 2 that I got wrecked, I shot back up, and points just updated. I got 1,632. Dylan got 1,483. So yeah, it was a pretty good season.
Yeah, consistency and picking yourself back up when you get struck down is definitely the signs of a champion of any sort, and certainly one here in Indy NXT competition. If you've got anybody you want to shout out here, Indy, I know you've got this pretty down pat with how much we've had you up here on the podium throughout the season, even on the road courses. I know you scored one at Lime Rock Park there, so feel free to shout out anybody out you'd like.
Yeah, Fremont Functional Fitness, BGM Marine Associates, The Alley and Clyde, Make Something on YouTube, Fort Ball Pizza Palace, Bayside Heating and Cooling. Thank you for putting on the broadcast. Thanks for everyone watching. And thanks for my dad for getting this second rig set up, and he was in this race. He ran 7th. I kept telling him to try to make the high side work. It didn't, I guess, but yeah.
Well, thank you for turning out pretty much every week here on the broadcast here, Indy. We hope to catch you next season as you go for the title defense.
Yep, I sure will be going for the title events, and I'm the oldest Indy NXT champion, and this, if I can get the win next season, that will be the new oldest. So, it's been a good season, and it's a good season, and excited for a better season next season.
Well, that's certainly something we can all get behind. Glad to have you up here once more, Indy. Go celebrate.
Yep, thank you.
That will do it for the broadcast here for Indy NXT Official Series competition. I want to thank each and every single person that's tuned in to our coverage here on the channel. Believe that the Oval Fixed doubleheader is back underway, so we don't have quite the same gaggle of individuals tuned in. But if you've tuned in for one race, or if you've tuned in for all of them, both Oval and Road, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This was something I really wanted to get on the channel here, just to really drive home that the Indy NXT series is a cornerstone of development, and just another fun way for getting a lot of drivers that we don't tend to see in IndyCar competition get some new names, some new faces. It's been wonderful to meet all the drivers and their fans throughout the season, and I'm looking forward to another great season, kicking off 2026 in style in 2 weeks' time from Road America for the Road Series and Motegi for the Ovals. And to all those that do the difficult jobs all around the world, we want to thank you for letting us do all the fun things that we do here, including Indy NXT Series action. Hope you're ready for what's next. It's Indy NXT. I'm Jake McCollins. Have a good night, everybody.